Walt Roberts on the right, Dale Roberts on the left. They're from Livestreaming Tech. Dale, you know from Self-Publish with Dale, but today we're not talking self-publishing. We are talking live streaming tech, and you guys got the shirts all ready. So how long have you guys been at it with live streaming tech?
We started it in the end of November, right?
End of November,
yeah. Basically, he called me up, I think at the beginning of November and said, hey, I need your knowledge. And he goes, I will do the heavy lifting. He said, you come over and help me come up with content. And we pretty much just started off with just starting YouTube videos.
The issue is, Ross, is this guy's got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to technology. So
I hoard it.
When you guys look at live streaming tech, you'll see he's known as the live streaming expert. And I'm just known as the live streaming pro because I don't know most of this stuff. You'll talk about all these processors and GPUs and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know that. So I know from the side of YouTube about how to optimize things and get a channel going and really, on the up and up. And I know how to run a decent live stream, but when it starts to kind of go south, I'm usually calling him up. So I'm like, let's bring you on board and I'll just kind of help you lift and we can make this a brother project.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe that's the difference between doing talk and doing gaming to some extent, because gaming is so much more of a resource hog. So you have to really know your gear at another level, right? Well,
yeah, that and you're spinning plates. Think about the old Ed Sullivan show, right? Where you would get the guys on there and they would spin the plates on different things. So as a game streamer, not only are you having to focus on the game, you're also focusing on your chat, you're engaging your chat, you're talking. And that is the biggest hurdle a lot of game streamers find themselves having to overcome, is the actual talking. Matter of fact, my brother-in-law, that's how I actually got into streaming, is my brother-in-law hit me up because he knew absolutely nothing about computers and this and that. This is back when OBS Classic, it was OBS Classic or XSplit, and this was 2014 on Twitch. And literally he brought his stuff down to the basement and I literally I read forums. That's all I did. I just read forum after forum after forum, had him do it. But when he would stream, he was great at playing the games. But when it came to talking, I would constantly have to literally, and I'm not joking, I had a stick and I would poke him off camera and like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be talking. That's right. And that's the main thing. It's like, that's why a lot of people who start streaming and they come to me for advice, they're like, give me some tips. And I'm like, talk. I don't care if there's 0 people in your channel or 100 people in your channel, because you never know when somebody's going to pop in. And if you're sitting there staring at your shoelaces or so focused on the game that you're playing, they're out of there because you're not giving them a reason to hang around. Versus if you come into my channel, you're like, who is he talking to and what is he talking about? And as you see, I'm a talker. I'm sorry, I'm hogging the mic there.
Ross, I warned you about this, man.
That's the live streamer in me. Matter of fact, when we do our YouTube videos, he's constantly hollering at me to dial it down, because I usually do 2 to 3 hour streams when I do it. And I do it as not myself as Walt Roberts. I do it as a character known as Bonic Vapor. And so I'm very intense. I'm over the edge. And I do this for 2 to 3 hours straight. And matter of fact, a lot of other streamers that have been doing it for a while come in and see me. And they're like, oh my God, how can you keep up that intensity? It's one thing to do it on YouTube and break it up into clips, but to do it for 2 to 3 hours straight. And that's why I tell them, I'm like, literally, I collapse from exhaustion after I'm done with a 3 hour stream, and I take a shower and I go to bed and then get up and go to my day job.
Well, you can find these guys on YouTube at youtube.com/livestreamingtech. Now, Dale, you have a channel on YouTube for self-publishing, and Walt, your main home for video is Twitch. Both of you tell us what your channels are, your solo channels, and then we'll get back to the tech.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can find me on Twitch on Bonic Vapor. That's basically twitch.tv Bonic Vapor. I do have a YouTube channel as well, which I put almost 0 love into, and he always yells at me about it. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for him poking me with the stick for live streaming tech and really pushing me, I would have probably, because that's the thing. I tend to focus a little bit more on one thing or the other. And when it comes to live streaming, I'm constantly dabbling with whether it be Streamlabs, OBS, or OBS.
Yeah. By the way,
even have a Facebook page too.
Fair warning. It is for adults only.
Correct.
He does have mature content.
Correct.
So don't send your children over there. Whereas you can go over to Self-Publishing with Dale on YouTube. I've been doing that for about 3 years now. I hit bronze status earlier this year. So I'm getting close to about 14. Actually, I just broke 14,000 subscribers today. So real happy about that. That is more family friendly. It's more business oriented. There's not as heavy lifting as what he has to do. So I'm not collapsing from exhaustion. I'm probably more mentally exhausted after a live stream than anything.
Right. All right, let's get into the gear. Somebody starting out live streaming, what are the essentials that they need? They need a camera, they need lighting, they need something for audio, and they need some type of production platform or whatever. What do you guys recommend for people starting out?
Okay, so a lot of the younger generation, and when I say this, I'm talking, anywhere between the ages of 18 and probably 21, do not have the revenue or the resources such as streaming off of a PC. You could literally stream off of an Xbox One and a PS4. And to get a camera, unfortunately, their cameras are specifically designed for those consoles. And I think one of my youngest sons, I bought his for like $79. And they literally can use just a regular gaming headset. So the one main thing is I try to preach to people or whatever. I'm not necessarily a streaming coach. I'm more of the technology side. So my thing is you can actually get away with using a cheaper, say, Logitech C920 camera. Yeah. It's all about lighting. And I actually had to learn that the hard way. And thank God for Dale, because he did a lot of the YouTube creation. He kind of transferred some of that knowledge over. Yeah. So it's more about lighting than anything else. And I mean, they can start out just pulling living room lamps, and just setting the lighting up properly. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can do with a cheap camera. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the microphones or the gaming headsets and stuff, it is really important that they do spend a little bit of extra money on there, because there's nothing worse than a stream where you hear a crackling mic or a hissing mic, or so that's the main thing. And people can forgive you for having a lower visual quality, but when it comes to that audio, you really have to have that dialed in, because if they can't sit there and listen, then what's the point?
Right.
Yeah, it's pointless. And a lot of people get hung up on having to sink a lot of money. Let me just show as an example here, Ross, if you don't mind. I've got this LED. We got 2 of them right now set up. And this thing ran me probably about $15 over on Amazon. It can run at just about half power, I think, right about now. It can run for about a couple hours on the highest setting. So this didn't run me too much. I would really highly recommend, definitely, if you've got the cam, for sure, some of just C920 runs about $50, if not less. You can get one of those online. So $15 for these lights. If you just kind of slowly but surely bootstrap your way up, you'll be able to get some of this gear. I didn't get all this stuff overnight. There's a lot of stuff.
And neither did I. I mean, that was another thing. I started out streaming on a laptop. So as far as needing, thousands of dollars worth of gear, and luckily for me, my viewers, the small community that I have actually established, have been great as far as giving tips, subscribing to my channel bits. Yeah. And I take every bit of that and I put it right back in the stream. As much as I would love to go order pizza that night, when I get $50 in tips or cheers or whatnot, I would love to get pizza or, grab a beer. But the thing is I know if I sit on that money long enough, that's going to buy me a new graphics card. That's going to buy me a gaming chair. That's going to buy me a new microphone. That's going to buy me a new lighting system, and so on and so forth. And literally, I've upgraded my whole streaming rig that way. I mean, Dale can vouch for that. I mean, he's seen it grow. Matter of fact, I've grabbed some hand-me-downs from him. The green screen that I use, to the lighting that I use, it's been hand-me-downs from him, because when he downsized and no longer needed it for his YouTube videos, he said, "Here, you got room and you got enough crap in your house. Take this."
That's exactly how I put it.
Now, are you guys still using the C920, or have you guys moved up a level with your camera?
We're both using the Logitech Brio, which he's actually ready to throw the Brio into the trash. He's been having issues with his.
Dude, we're using the Brio right now. You're going to jinx us.
I know.
It's listening.
Yeah, he's been having issues here lately with it freezing up and whatnot, where I hadn't had that issue. I used to see, was it 920 or whatever there for a while. And even the model below that I used even longer. I used that probably for I would say 2 years.
And it was passable for sure. I think what was it doing, 480, 720, something like
720.
that?
Yeah, I could push
so it was doing
720.
720p. I mean, you don't need to have anything huge. And with the C920, by the way, folks, that's good 1080p resolution. So it's going to be more than sufficient, especially if somebody's watching on a mobile device. They're not going to need to see it in that high of a resolution.
And that brings me to another thing. Whether you're a game streamer or like you're doing right now, Ross, where you're, doing an interview, you don't need to have 4K. You don't, I mean, 1080 is nice, but if you have you look at your audience, and if your audience is watching a lot of your content through a mobile device, you don't want to be cranking that up, because what you're sending up, you might be able to handle, but what they have to download is a totally different thing. They're either feeding off of Wi-Fi, or worse yet, a tower that's 6 blocks down the road, and they have a really crappy signal because they use AT&T. Sorry, hopefully you were looking forward to getting that sponsorship.
Yeah, that goes out the window. Today's show is
that's all right. They're my internet service provider, so my stuff just got shut off.
So what are the advantages of using like an LED lighting bank like you had there, Dale, versus say using a couple of lamps, just, household lamps, easy for me to say?
You could direct the lighting, and it takes up very little room. Like literally 5 minutes before we got on with you, I set one up, he set the other one up, and we were ready to rock and roll. Versus if we were pulling out living room lamps and pulling off shades and putting t-shirts in front of them to diffuse the light, or even setting up a bigger lighting rig, which I have at home, which is the umbrella lights, the box lights, this and that. Those take up a lot of room, and they do tend to get a little warm. Even though they're fluorescent, they do get warm compared to the LEDs. So if you're in a small work space, you kind of want to downsize. You don't want to be tripping over everything, just to be able to live stream.
Yeah, and one thing I would recommend, a good friend of mine, Steve Gamlin, actually uses just shop lights, and he just softens up. He makes sure he doesn't go too high in the wattage, but he'll put like a wax paper over top of them with like some type of a coloring, and it really starts to cast better light. So that's another very cost-effective. We're all about saving money, but also making it look to where it's really high value.
Yeah, because you can get a professional look, and believe it or not, I pulled it off well before I had all my upgrades. I was constantly tweaking and dialing in. Like after every stream, I was a fanatic about going back, listening. What did I sound like? What did I look like? Was it choppy? Constantly evaluating myself. Matter of fact, I would actually send him text and say, hey, get on there and watch my replay. And he would give me critiques. And I always told him, don't hold back. If you think I look like trash or sound like trash, get on me. And so that's the thing, you got to find those honest people that because that's the thing. My audience, when they come in, they try to appease. So I can be like, how do I sound? And then I go back and listen later on. I'm like, oh my God, I was peeking out the microphone, like ear raping everyone. Why didn't anyone say anything? And it's because, I think a lot of people, they want to appease me as Bionic Vapor, not as Walt Roberts, where Dale, that's my brother. He's going to probably be the one that's going to be more brutally honest than anyone else. So that's the thing. If you're starting to live stream, or you're live streaming now, and you want a friend who's going to be brutally honest with you. You want somebody that's going to say, you look bad in those jeans. That's who you want. You don't want the people that go, oh, no, that dead tooth in your mouth looks perfectly fine. No one notices it. You don't want those kind of people critiquing your live streams.
Right.
Yeah. This is so much fun. I mean, did you guys ever work together on a project before? Or is this
Years ago, we did music. We did, when I got out of the Navy, he was up in Bowling Green University, and he already started a band, and I jumped in there because we're both guitar players. And we did that for about 6 years.
For a while. I'll
admit though, there was points where we wanted to strangle each other and whatnot. And luckily for us,
brother fights.
Luckily for us, doing the live streaming tech, we get together probably maybe once, maybe twice a week at most. So we're not around each other enough to quite strangle each other. I'm sure he's probably ready to punch some pillows and scream at pillows when I leave or he leaves. But and that's because I'm a total dummy when it comes to YouTube. I'll be honest with, other than me live streaming and maybe putting a little bit of content up on my Bionic Vapor channel, I'm still learning. And this guy's been great as far as teaching me. And he actually sends me to, people like Brian G. Johnson and Nick Nimmin and all those guys. Just like, hey, watch these videos, learn from them. So, and that's what I do. I just soak it up like a sponge. It's the same thing with live streaming. I'm constantly reading forums. I'm constantly, taking away. That's the other thing too, as a live streamer, watch other people's content. It's kind of like Stephen King said, as a writer, you got to read other people's content before you can write your own great content. It's the same thing when it goes to live streaming, is watch other people's live streams, take away what you like about it, and at the same time too, take notes on what you think they're doing wrong, and don't reduplicate what they're doing wrong, but actually take what they're doing right and work that into your content.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Twitch. A lot of people who are doing type of content that I'm doing, interview, talk show stuff, really don't spend that much time on Twitch, although we are streaming this to Twitch.
Yeah. And
what do you think about Twitch, first of all, for non-gaming content, and then as far as gaming content goes?
Oh, believe it or not, when I first started, like I said, once again, it was with my brother-in-law. It was only gaming. Matter of fact, talk shows, you better be talking about gaming, or they would boot you up. I'm being dead serious. It was games or talking about games, and that was it. And it wasn't until Amazon acquired Twitch that the floodgates started opening. Like, somebody was like, aha, we can tap into something bigger than gaming. And if you look at there's a lot of other sites like MLG and whatnot that has actually failed and gone to the wayside. And I think that's the reason why Twitch is succeeding now, is because the fact that they have the just chatting, the IRL type streams, the creative type streams. And really the creative type streams were the first ones to break into it, to where you could go to the creative channel. Then they have subcategories within the creative channel. You have podcasts, different types of talk shows. And I think because Amazon owning Twitch, that allows the community to grow even bigger. And I know a lot of the old school gamers, they're totally against it, where I'm totally for it, because that, to me, even though, say, somebody is coming to watch just you, after this show's done, they might wander off and they might stumble into my channel if I'm live streaming. So that is one extra viewer that I'm possibly going to capture and captivate and get them coming back to watch me. But I really dig it. And I don't know if you know, they did the whole rollout now with the Amazon live streaming, where they're going to be able to live stream their own products on there. Of course, it's only for Mac, but yeah. Go figure. Way to go, Amazon. But yeah, so so now you're gonna start seeing QVC style live streams on Amazon. So I think Amazon, they've seen the bigger picture, and they know that the competition was gonna be stiff going into it, going against YouTube. But the problem with YouTube is YouTube live streaming was always a second afterthought. Same with Facebook. Facebook was late to the game when it came to live streaming. So really, Twitch didn't have any competition. Now, the problem is, though, because Twitch is so huge now, and because everyone's running to the races, and especially when it comes to gaming, it's saturated. It's oversaturated. So now you have to build that community or that audience elsewhere and then bring them to Twitch, because there's no algorithm on Twitch. There's no way. Like for YouTube, I can type in dogs dancing around a campfire, and I guarantee I'm gonna find something that's related to it or pretty darn close. Where on Twitch, you really can't do that. You can search by game, you can search by the streamer's name if you want to, or the language. And really, other than that, it ranks everyone by their viewers. So for instance, if you are on Twitch right now live, you might have other people doing other interviews or podcast style things, depending on however you have the stream listed. And the person who has the most viewers is going to be at the top. The person with the least is going to be at the bottom. Think about this. Most people, and I'm one of them, I'm lazy. I don't feel like scrolling down. I look at the first top 6, and if I'm interested, cool, I'll click on one of them. If not, I'm bouncing out and looking for something else.
Yeah, so you got to bring your own audience to Twitch, and particularly if you're doing something that isn't in the mainstream of Twitch, I think then even more so, right? Because you don't.
I would say any of it nowadays, and that's just like I said, because gaming is oversaturated, and because everything else is new to Twitch, you really got to build that presence, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, or some sort of social media. I always equate it to, I tell people that first start streaming, it's like you get mad because no one shows up, but you're throwing a party, you didn't send out the invitations. So how can you get mad? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, do you have a Twitter account? And they're like, no. Okay, do you have an Instagram account? No. Are you on Facebook? No. Okay, so here's the thing. No one knows you're streaming. People just aren't, I mean, they will have a few accidentals that come across your stream. And that's if you're witty enough and you title it good enough, or you're playing a game that's not oversaturated, or doing some sort of content that differentiates you from somebody else on Twitch. But the thing is you're throwing a party every time you're live streaming. And this goes for YouTube, Facebook, or any other live streaming platform that you're going to be live streaming on. You got to have a presence elsewhere or everywhere, and you got to let people know you're throwing the party, because you can't get mad if no one shows up.
Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Brand on Broadcasting. I know
Thank you
you
for
guys
having
are both busy. I would love for you to stick around for the post show if you can, and we'll continue the conversation at that time. Thanks so much. It's awesome seeing you, Dale and Walt.
Thanks.
Check
Thank you,
out
Ross.
Live Streaming Tech. It's livestreamingtech.site, and it's youtube.com/livestreaming tech. These guys know their stuff, and they're here to help, and it's so great having you on.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks so much. That is Dale and Walt Roberts.